some degree days. So we were blessed with that. In case you don't, NAACP stands for, it's the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. And here in the county, our branch looks pretty much like all of you guys out here. It's a mixture of different races, different ages, and it's just a wonderful group to belong to. The NAACP is the largest civil rights organization in the country and in the world. We have national and international groups. It was started in 1909. It was started after the Niagara riots in New York. And the purpose of the organization is to ensure the political, educational, social, economic equality of rights for all persons, eliminating racial hate and racial discrimination. And it's the bylaws that we as an organization here in the county and nationally, we have fought for those rights. The organization was established in 1909. So we have a long historic history. Now, here in the county, we have worked with selecting the police chief. When Jeff Spaulding was our police chief, we were asked, members of the organization were asked to come in and be part of that selection, and we had a wonderful working relationship with Chief Spaulding. We have the same thing going on with the chief of police now here in the county. Members of our organization are a part of many organizations here in the county. We are part of Carroll County Human Relations Commission, Carroll Citizens for Racial Equality. We serve on HSP, Human Service Program Board, many organizations. And it's just so good to see so many of you here that are taking an interest in what's going on now. The main thing we want to make sure and stress is that you register to vote. There's registration over there. We want you to vote, because we as an organization, as a country, we cannot continue to tolerate what's happening in the leadership in the White House. We are nonpartisan. We are nonpartisan. Now, some years ago, we did investigate Carroll County to make sure there were no monuments or memorials for Civil War people, and there weren't any. We have worked with the Ellsworth Cemetery. We were part of revitalizing that. We honored St. Bartholomew's Knights of Columbus that restored that cemetery. But prior to that, we have Kevin Day Hoff, former mayor of Westminster, and George Murphy was a member of our organization, and that cemetery is being maintained. Also, there was many years ago when tuberculosis was rampant here in the United States. The white physicians and nurses did not want to deal with the tuberculosis people. So what happened is the state of Maryland, in Marriottsville, Maryland, down in the Sykesville area, built a recovery place for the tuberculosis patients. And one of our members had gone to nurses training school there. That building was demolished. There was no recognition of what the purpose of that building had been. We got in touch with the state legislators, and they got a monument, well, not a monument, but we got, um, we got official roadside markers. One recognizes the individuals who had been patients there, and the other one recognizes the one who did their nursing training there. A lot of what we have done, you can go on the Community Media Center and you can see those things that are advertised there that we did, because we have filmed them. Now, currently running Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 8 p.m. on channel 19 on Comcast and channel 1086 on Comcast. You can see activities that took place that we have been. I want to encourage everyone today, get out, vote, have people you know or don't know that aren't registered. You ride to the polls, but most importantly, when the state of Maryland sends you the application to make sure that you live at the address that they have, that you send that back, because when you do that, you can get that absentee, a Maryland mail-in ballot. Trying to double check to make sure I covered all the points I wanted. This shirt I'm wearing is one that myself, I think there were 12 of us that went to the 50th March on Washington. Pam Zappardini was one of them. Who are you pointing to? But there were several of 50th March. One of the things before I left the house, my husband wanted to remind me, his name is John Lewis also. One of the first marches that were held in the late 60s or the early 70s in Carroll County was to integrate Carroll Theater, which is now Carroll Arts Center. And that was started with Clarence Dorm, who's now deceased, and my husband. And they were fighters to make sure that the things that were taking place should here in the county. So that happened in the late 60s or early 70s. He wasn't real sure about what it was, but it was when the Baltimore Colts were at McDaniel College, and because it was a white theater, the black members of the Baltimore Colts could not go there to see movies. And as a result of it, the Baltimore Colts left Carroll County. So there are things that can take, you might not think what you're doing is so powerful, but it is, because it sends a message. If we don't spend our money there, then we don't need to be able to participate. And we really need to take that as a philosophy. We as an organization have worked with Carroll County Public Schools. I personally, for the past 15 years, have gone to help recruit minority teachers for the school systems. Our organization has given, every year we have given a $1,000 scholarship to 1 to 3 students in the county, high school black students. One that we've given a scholarship to has finished college. So if you're a senior or this is your junior year, make sure you go to your school counselor and tell them you want an application. And if you can't find one, you get in touch with us and we will find out why this has not taken place. So I think I've taken up my time and somebody else's. But I just want to thank everybody that was brave enough to do this heat today and to put your action into place. And thank you so very much for the opportunity to speak to you.
Thanks for coming out. I'm with the Coalition Against Prejudice. I wanted to introduce our next speaker, Aaron Snell, St. Paul's Church Minister of Social Justice.
Yeah! Well, good afternoon, advocates of justice and agents of change. I'm Aaron Snell, Minister of Social Justice at St. Paul's United Church of Christ, and I bring you greetings from St. Paul on the corner of Green Street and Bond Streets here in Westminster. We are an open and affirming congregation which celebrates the gifts and presence of LGBTQ people. We are a wise congregation, which means that we are working to support and care for people dealing with mental illness or substance abuse. We are a congregation continually working toward being anti-racist people. And I say toward because we are mostly a white congregation, and therefore we acknowledge that we will always be working toward being anti-racist.
Hi, Jenna.
At St. Paul's UCC, we believe that racism denies another's humanity and inherent worth. As our banner states, when Black lives matter, then all lives matter. So white people living today did not create this white supremacy culture, but we sustain it and carry it on. We have benefited from it and continue to do so. Therefore, if we do nothing to change this culture of oppression of Black and brown bodies, we are maintaining racism. White supremacy culture is fueled by white complicity. White people of all faiths or no faith, we know this is morally atrocious. White people, it's our job, our responsibility to change this culture.
Amen.
It's our job. Now, since George Floyd's murder, there has been a movement amongst white people, an awakening for many, a beginning for justice-seeking youth. If I'm truly honest with you, I need to confess that I felt an array of emotions due to his murder, or rather the response by the white community after his murder. I was frustrated and angry that it took so many murders of Black and brown people over so many years for many white people to finally see the injustice and become horrified enough to speak up. I was confused, wondering why it took this murder for many white people to believe what Black and brown people have been telling us for so long. I was that so many young people are coming of age in a time now and enraged by his murder to demand a different culture that doesn't uphold white as the norm.
Yeah!
Thank you, young people. I was and am also hopeful, although I admit cautiously so, that this time will be different. I'm worried that those of us white folks who have come lately to the work of dismantling systems of racism might use our white privilege to tire of the work or escape into white normalcy. It is easy to do. It is a privilege to have that ability, something our Black and brown siblings do not have. Recently, I was part of a conversation where white people and anti-racism efforts were being compared to firecrackers and pilot lights. Firecrackers because we take action, perhaps by protesting or sending money to a Black organization after a highly publicized racist incident. But then we end up fizzling out into the background All our efforts are either all or nothing. Pilot light white people because we keep on steadily, continually invested in repentance, but we don't know what to do. We keep reading and learning, but don't recognize how we can use our power to transform society. I think perhaps that we need to be both a pilot light and a back burner, always working, never complacent, but not so comfortable with our privilege that we keep continually just simmering. People cannot fizzle out or pretend that cold, bitter racism is non-existent. So it's our responsibility to be back burners, sharing and relinquishing places of privilege so that black and brown people hold places and spaces of power. Sit back here. Okay. White people, you are that you have so much to gain, not lose, but to gain by dismantling racist systems and advocating for an anti-racist culture. You have so much to gain. We are not well as a society when black and brown people are oppressed and marginalized. When systems of white supremacy culture hurt and kill our black and brown brothers and sisters. You are here because you know that we are interdependent. Our well-being is connected to one another. You are here because you are persistent pilot lights and high-power burners, ready to turn up the heat in places of oppression, whether it be in the classroom, the courtroom, the police station, the jail, places of worship, newsrooms, government buildings where decisions about housing and community services and ordinance occur. And you are here because you are ready to turn up the heat in the voting booth.
Yeah!
So thank you. Thank you for being here. Young people, thank you for pushing us and leading us to be repairers of the pain and injustices of racism that white people in my generation and the generations before me have caused and perpetuated to this time and place. Thank you for pushing us. Lead us. At St. Paul's UCC, we join you in dismantling racism beginning in our congregation and Carroll County community. We will persist in anti-racism work, boldly replacing our Black Lives Matter banners that are destroyed and speaking and acting towards creating a community that's vibrant, diverse, whole, just, and loving. So thank you, Carol. Thank you, Coalition Against Prejudice, for this today. Thank you for your leadership.
Coming out, I'm Jason LaFleur of Coalition Against Prejudice,
Yeah!
and I'm introducing Jack Del Nunzio from the Carroll County Coalition of the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. All right, let's try that again. Hi, everybody. My name is Jack D'Amonzio. I'm first and foremost an ally, and so thank you all for being here and also being allies on this day. I'm here on behalf of the Carroll County Coalition of the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project, and today I want to talk about adding a name to the list. Breonna Taylor is on this list, as well as Elijah McClain, George Floyd, and Ahmaud Arbery. Freddie Gray, Philando Castile, Alton Sterling, Trayvon Martin, Tanisha Anderson, Tamir Rice, Michael Brown. of the better known victims of anti-Black racism, many names are still obscure. These are victims of white supremacy and state-sanctioned ability to reckon with its legacy of enslaving, murdering, disenfranchising, impoverishing, criminalizing, and incarcerating the Black body. Some of you are here today because the reality of being a Black person in America is that you, a child, or a loved one might be next. All of you are here because you know these names, you mourn for them, and you stand against racist power, racist policies, and racist ideas. Because you understand that racism is not a specter of the past, but very much so alive and well. Recently, some Carroll County commissioners circumvented our local NAACP and the coalition I represent in an attempt to throw together a paternalistic African American Heritage Commission. They did this not because they have embraced anti-racism. No, they did this to claim as their own the decades of actual work that our small but mighty and growing, as we can see today, Black coalition has done. They did this to give themselves a symbolic pat on the back while continuing to stand in the way of real anti-racist change. So we invite our local elected officials to be allies, not antagonists. Otherwise, we have to vote. I want to emphasize that again. We have to vote on the local level, on the state level, and on the national level to make change. In addition, the KKK is still materials in this county. If, like me, you attended school in Carroll County, you know that we learned nothing about the beautiful, heart-wrenching legacy of resistance and perseverance cultivated by Black people in this country.
Accuracy over 9,000.
We were told that we are living in a post-racial world. We were taught that real patriotism means pledging absolute, unquestioned obedience to a flag and a country that normalizes whiteness, while the histories, rights, and bodies of Black, brown, indigenous, non-heterosexual, and non-binary people are erased.
Yeah.
We know better. We are here because we know that equitable, reparative change on a national scale is necessary, but that we must also show up locally, just like we did today. Today, I want to add a 20-year-old named Townsend Cook to the list, and we are going to do something about it. Townsend Cook was lynched right here in Westminster, Maryland in 1885. I'm going to tell you what happened to Townsend Cook, not because we should glorify his murder or the racism that led to it, but because we must tell hard truths if we are to heal. We must tell hard truths if we are to dismantle the systems and the complicity that saw to Cook's lynching. Fitting within a pattern, and one that we still see today, of criminalizing and hypersexualizing Black people. Townsend Cook was accused of assaulting a white woman, and he was subsequently taken to the old Westminster jail, which, if you were joining us for the march, we walked right past today. Still stands at the corner of North Court Street. Not unlike George Floyd, Cook had no trial. He was not afforded due process. Instead, some 40 people, all wearing masks and armed with guns, broke into the jailhouse and found Cook in his cell. The sheriff and the officers that were responsible for protecting Cook offered little resistance. The mob threw a noose around Cook's neck and dragged him down the stairs onto the outside pavement. He was thrown in a wagon and taken towards Liberty Street, now Route 27. At this point, the commotion outside had attracted at least half of the population of Westminster, according to our records. I want to reiterate that. At least half the population of Westminster joined the lynching mob gleefully, following the wagon south. About a mile and a half from where we are today, the wagon stopped. Townsend Cook was forced to strip half naked and he was hanged. Even after life left his body, his court was shot multiple times. When law enforcement officers arrived on the scene, they cut the rope into small pieces and distributed them throughout the town of Westminster. Those pieces of rope are probably still here somewhere in this county. The intergenerational trauma caused by historical lynchings and the re-traumatization caused by modern-day lynchings are here with us too.
It's terrible.
They are an everyday reality for Black people. The past may seem abstract and irrelevant,
It's fucking
but it's not.
disgusting.
The past is still with us today, and it will be with us tomorrow.
So we
So,
learn from
the
it.
Carroll County Coalition of the Maryland Lynching Memorial Project is dedicated to telling the truth about Townsend Cook and other lynching victims that we are probably yet to uncover. This is being done through historical research and the development of educational resources that will incorporate inclusive histories into Carroll County's curriculum. Moreover, we are dedicated to telling the truth about the lived experiences of our Black community, to having real conversations about race and racism in Carroll County. To all of these ends, we need your help. We need concerned members of the public to join us at our public forums and to assist with research and outreach. One of our current most pressing projects is that we're working on conducting oral histories with members of the Westminster community who remember hearing about the lynching of Townsend Cook and can tell us more. If you fall into this category, we are your anti-racist allies, and we want to make your voice heard. More wish to interview those who are willing to share their experiences with race and racism in general in Carroll County. By engaging in these courageous conversations, by doing what we're doing today, by reckoning with and archiving our racist past and present, we can begin to move toward healing and reconciliation. So the end goal of the project is we're going to try to erect historical markers in Westminster that tell the truth about Townsend Cook with empathy, anti-racism, and love. We will also hold comparative sessions right here in Westminster that will allow us to come together and start to heal. So please consider joining us, and thank you for making good trouble today. Thank you, guys.
Hi, everybody. My name is Lauren Castle. I'm with Coalition Against Prejudice. Our next speaker is Ms. Darcel Harris from the Grow Mission. You want to come on up here?
Can you hear me through this muffled thing? Is it clear?
It's clearish.
Oh, I gotta take this down. I'm sorry. Okay. I'm actually Dr. Darcel Harris, PhD in educational psychology. And first of all, I'm a child of the Most High God, Yah, and Psalm 68:4 said, call his name, Yah. I'm a parent. I'm a school teacher. I started off at Liberty High School, the only Black teacher, certified teacher in Liberty High School. Gateway, the only Black teacher certified in Gateway. And I'm at East Middle, where it's at least 5 or less
Black certified teachers and maybe one or two instructional teachers. Then I had taught GED for 10 years in this county. I'm also an educator called
Hi, Cartwheel
We
Buddy.
Can Help, and it's helped many of these my sisters and brothers get their high school diplomas, get through first and second grade. I'm telling you, it's a terrible thing to see. I'm also a coordinator of a nonprofit called GROW, God's Regeneration of Westminster to the World, which provides spiritual help and referrals. And we also started up a thing called Man Up for young men of color without dads. I am also an author. Why did I tell you that? I'm just trying to let you know I am much more than what you see. And a lot of people look at African Americans or people of color and they don't see all these things I just told you about me, because you wouldn't have known that. You wouldn't have known I wrote books. You wouldn't have known I had a PhD. You wouldn't have known nothing. All you would have thought about was that I'm Black. And I'm much more than that. And so is all people, really.
Yeah! Woo!
That old adage, you can't judge a book by its cover, is real. I deal with that with my kids up there at East Middle, but I'll get to that in a minute. I just need to say this. I lived through Martin Luther King, and when I was alive, and they were alive when I was young. Martin Luther King was alive, Malcolm X was alive, Angela Davis was still alive, Black Panthers, Huey P. Newton, the Kennedy brothers, they were all alive when I was young. So what's getting me right now, I saw them get murdered, I saw them go to jail, and I'm seeing the same thing, 50 years later? Something's wrong with this picture. Something's wrong.
Waiting on the world to change.
I see my brothers and sisters get mauled by dogs and water hose with the force that was used to put out fires on human flesh. I saw them locked out of their homes, burned out of their homes. A lot of people thought they burnt their homes. Let me tell you, you don't burn your own home. So there's other things going on, and I'm telling you, we're at the same place. And the sad thing was I was there when they died, too. And we are still at the same place. Here's what I come to, my conclusion is this, that equity is the core word that we need. Equity is the core word because equality don't work. We tried equality. We need equity. Equity is the core word because I don't remember being asked if I wanted the Negro anthem to be played at the football game. Who decided that for me? I didn't decide that. What I'm saying is people are making decisions for people of color and nobody's asking us. You need to ask us.
Yeah!
And somebody on Facebook got real mad because the national anthem was playing, but I'm saying nobody asked me. So that's one thing that, no offense, people tend to do is to think that this will help us. No, ask us. Ask, and you know what? We'll tell you, and if we get a little bit excited and we start moving our hands, it's not karate, it's just that we are emotional people.
Yeah!
We might get loud, but we're just emotional. We're not even mad at you. We're just excited that somebody actually asked me what I want.
More
For the
people
first
need to
time in my
care.
life, and I'm old. Equity means, let me tell you what equality means. Equality means the state of being equal. Have we seen that yet, people? No. But equity means justice. According to natural laws of rights, it means the quality of being fair and impartial. That's what we want. We want equity. If you ever seen the picture, you got a fence, you got a tall guy can look over the fence. We got the short guy needs two boxes so they can look over the fence. And the one in the wheelchair needs a ramp to get up the box to look over the fence. That's equity. That's what we want.
Yeah!
Equity is the means to get to a goal. I'm gonna say something to my sisters and brothers of color. We're gonna have to start taking the jobs of police. We're gonna have to stop, put down the foolishness and go get the jobs. Finish our school and go get the job. Start our own businesses. Support our businesses. I've had that business since 1992, and people will wonder how I keep the business because I didn't get that much support. But the Lord kept that business, and I'm going to say that the Lord for me kept that business. But that business is still running right on Center Street right now, and I'm still helping people even during the COVID.
Yeah.
So what would I like to see happen? I'd like to see the community
Sorry,
become
people, I
business
can't
owners
clap because I'm
and support
got my
other
phone in my
minority
hand.
business. That's what I like to see. The equity would look at application fairly. So when you go to apply for a job, instead of them trying to be equal, why don't you have some equity and give us some justice and fairness? Some of you young people need to become police, teachers, nurses, doctors, lawyers. Y'all need to stop playing around and take hold of your life. Nobody's supposed to give you anything, but you can work for it. What I would like to see happen, the equity would happen when they teach American history, that it will include who helped to make this country great.
Amen.
I would like to see that the pages of history, not just a month of Black history, not just a month of women history, not just a month of Asian Pacific history, not just a month of anybody else that's been singled out to a month. I'd like to see them in the book called American History so everybody can read it together. The other thing I'd like to see, no offense, but I'd like to see that equity would be in the schools when the kids get in trouble. Because I teach at East Middle, and I've seen this over again. No offense, with that white boy and girl, what is that called?
Privilege.
Yeah, privilege. The white boy and girl privilege where there's a fight. I'm just using one incident out of the, I've been here for 11 years, but I'm just giving you one incident. There's a fight in the bathroom, white and black boy. The young white boy gets in school suspension. The black boy gets 3-day out of school suspension. I want to see equity in the schools. I want to see equity with the parents. I've seen African American, Hispanic, or people of color, and even the flag people. They're coming in and they're not treated with equity at all. They're dismissed. Their complaints are dismissed, and they feel downtrodden. So I would like to see some equity in the administration, in the school system. Matter of fact, some of us need to become administrators.
Yes.
What I would like is equity to happen not only in Westminster, Carroll County, but the world. It is time to bring justice into action. This is a great thing right here, but we need to take it to where we really need to take it to. That school system need to change because our kids, they don't want to learn. And they're so smart that they water down everything, and then they just bored.
Yeah.
And I'm talking from an educator's point of view. So this is a fact. And that's not even just Black children. That's all the children are bored to death with school. Anyway. It is time to bring justice into action. And if we have talked far too long, thank you.
Woo!
Okay, hi everybody. I think I just have to wipe this down. I'm sorry. Okay. Okay, my name is Hannah Gore. I'm a member of the Coalition Against Prejudice, and I am introducing from the Carroll Citizens for Racial Equality, Pam Zappardino.
Good afternoon. Oh, come on, you can do better than that. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon!
That's better. You made the microphone feedback. I'm going to tell you a story about a young man who was 14 years old, lived in Chicago. He was African American, and his mother, who was originally from Mississippi, sent him down to Mississippi in the summer of 1955 in order to spend that summer with his uncle, his great uncle, and his cousins, and to see what life was like in the South. His name was Emmett Till. Emmett Till hadn't been in the South very long when he and his cousins one day stopped at Bryant's grocery store. And at Bryant's grocery store, they picked up a couple of things, and his cousins went out, and when they got outside, they realized Emmett was still. The other person inside the store was Mr. Bryant's wife, who was staffing the store that day. His cousins were terrified. The story here gets a little muddy. Some people say that on his way out, Emmett Till whistled at Mrs. Bryant. Some people say he said, "Bye, baby," on his way out. Some people say he didn't do anything. When he came out, his cousins hustled him away as fast as they could, but it was already too late. That night, two men, Mr. Bryant and his brother-in-law, proud members of the Ku Klux Klan, showed up at his great-uncle's house very late and demanded that they hand Emmett over to them. His great-uncle and aunt said, no, we can't. We'll put him on a bus back to Chicago first thing in the morning. You'll never see him again. Men said, no, we want the boy. They offered them money. Finally, they pushed Mr. and Mrs. Wright aside and found Emmett and dragged him outside. That was the last time anybody but those men saw Emmett alive. That night, Emmett was severely beaten. His eye was gouged out. He was castrated. He was shot. A cotton gin engine was tied around his neck with barbed wire, and he was thrown into the Tallahatchie River. His body was discovered several days later. He had been so badly beaten he could not be identified by sight. He was wearing a ring that had belonged to his father who died in the war, and it was by that ring that he was identified. His mother fought to get his remains returned to her, and while she was fighting, there was a quick trial of the two men, Mr. Bryant and the brother-in-law, and they were, despite eyewitness identification by Emmett's great uncle, they were acquitted in no time by an all-white jury. Now remember that, because when you register to vote, that doesn't only mean you can vote. It means you can serve on a jury. That was one of the reasons white people did not want black people to register to vote. It wasn't only that they could help elect who they wanted, but they would be able to serve on juries and pass judgment on white people. And at that point in time, the white people in the South could not even imagine that. The racism been long a part of this country. When Mrs. Mamie Till back, she decided to have open camp She wanted the her Emmett Till, the murder, the lynching of Emmett Till that energized young people in 1955. And so that's what started the ball rolling. John Lewis, Representative John Lewis, who just passed away 2 weeks ago, was 15 when Emmett that he realized that could easily have been him. And that's what started him and his work. So if we move forward to today, sparked by the man, and all of this is kind of discouraging. And you might think this means nothing has changed. But John Lewis had another view. He said there are people saying nothing has changed. For someone the way I did in the cotton fields of Alabama to now be serving in the U.S. Congress makes me want to tell people, come and walk in my shoes. Some things have changed. As a matter of fact, here in Carroll County 2 years ago, we became the first county in the United States to ban Confederate flags and other Confederate memorabilia in our public space.
Yeah! Sorry, I can't clap. I'm live. I can't clap.
That was a long and hard fight, and every organization who's spoken to you today and many more worked for years for that to happen, but it happened. But John Lewis knew that the work is not finished, and so do we, because less than 5 years ago here in Carroll County, a cross was burned in a black family's driveway. The day after George Floyd was murdered, hate propaganda was distributed throughout the county. So despite real progress, Lewis said, I can't help but think of young Emmett Till today as I watch video after video and falsely accused. My fellow Americans, this is especially up to speak out, to get into what I call good trouble, but to get in the way. And because of the actions of young and old, Black, Latino, Asian American, Native American, white, because people cried and prayed, people will never ever forget what happened and how it happened. It's my hope that we're on our way to greater change. He asked us to remember that freedom is not a state. It is an act. It is not some enchanted garden perched high on a distant plateau where we can finally sit down and rest. Freedom is the continuous action we all must take, and each generation must do its part to create an even more fair, more just society. Thanks to the Coalition Against Prejudice and sister organizations, we're taking some of those steps now, some of those actions. There comes a time when you have to say something. When you see something that's not right, not just, not fair, you have a moral obligation to say something, to do something. You have to make a little noise. You have to move your feet. This is the time. He said, get out there and push and speak up and speak out and get in the way. He knew we would get tired and discouraged, and not just a little bit afraid sometimes. Doing this kind of work to change our society involves risk. You might risk a job. You might risk a friendship. Your family might not invite you to Thanksgiving dinner. There are all sorts of risks, but John Lewis said they're worth taking. He cautioned us, do not get lost in a sea of despair. Be hopeful, be optimistic. Our struggle is not the struggle of a day, a week, a month, or a year. It is the struggle of a lifetime. Never, ever be afraid to make some noise and get in trouble. Good trouble, necessary trouble. Carroll Citizens for Racial Equality has been in that struggle for 28 years, since our founding by Ms. Virginia Harrison and Mr. Gary Hahnemann. We are an interracial group working to dismantle systemic racism and promote equity throughout Carroll County. If you're looking for a way to get into some good trouble, and who isn't, join with us in CCRE. You can go to our website or our Facebook page where you can find suggestions for things you can do. You can join us next Thursday morning on Zoom from 10 a.m. until noon for our conference for this year, My Country 'Tis of Thee. There will be a discussion about who is truly considered American in our country and who our country considers to be others, and what we can do to change that. You can find information about how to attend that. It's completely free on our website or our Facebook page. If you want to be part of our work ongoing, let us know. We've been working toward an anti-racist society for a long time, and we have plenty of room for those who want to get in the way and keep the change going. So please, don't think that any of the organizations that you've heard from today are closed, that new people can't join. And since in the civil rights movement that seems so long ago now, music was a critical part of bringing people together, building camaraderie, and getting rid of that sense of despair and discouragement. I'm going to make y'all sing a little bit. I want you to make sure that you're socially distanced. Get a good 6 feet apart. Come on, I want to see some movement. 6 feet apart. Keep your mask on. Not going to have anybody get sick from this rally. If you're here with someone that lives in the house with you, obviously. Okay. So back in the day, and even today, singing is a way to keep your spirits up. And the folks in the Coalition Against Prejudice know that there's a lot of work ahead of us. And it's not going to all happen by next month. As John Lewis said, it's the struggle of a lifetime. Each generation has to do their part and hand the baton on to the next. So we're going to sing a simple little song that was one of the anthems of the civil rights movement when people were feeling in despair. I'm going to wait for the plane to leave us. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. We're gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. Every people ain't gonna let nobody turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. I want to hear some singing softly. If y'all sing softly, we'll make a mighty noise. Ain't gonna let racism turn me round, turn me round, turn me round. Ain't gonna let racism turn me round. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom land. And one you probably know a little bit better. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Oh dear.
Alright, Facebook. I've been live for a while now. I gotta go get my phone reset. If I can come back, I will. I gotta check my battery percentage. Fight injustice one day at a time. Small movements like this is what make big sound.